Hello everybody. Let me just change the title of the slide, sorry. High-end qualitative research. There we go. So, thanks so much everybody for joining. I do want to briefly apologize about the videos from last week. I had a really tough week last week and I was a little bit tired, so my voice was not as enthusiastic as it should be. But this is a new week, so I'm super excited to start it. I'm going to let me just get check if the video is running. I'm going to be posting. Let's open this up a little bit. There we go. So I'm going to be posting through the Christmas holidays, except obviously on 24 and 25 and 31st and 1st of January. And next couple of days I will I'll also not post just because I have appointments at noon and I don't want to change the time of the stream. So today, my friends, I am going to tell you how to get hundreds, if not thousands, of observations in your qualitative research, okay? And basically, you know, I never really got like a pushback for this, but you know, but to be honest, I've also, since I finished I came up with this during my PhD. So when I was doing my PhD, I stopped working on n=1 sort of approach to qualitative research. And so I don't know how prevalent this problem of you know, reviewers telling you, oh, you just have the one case is or is not, just because I don't look at data like that. But you know, I did get this when I was in my dissertation, master's dissertation research. So, oops, sorry about that. So anyway, so I just wanted to share with you. The idea is not to respond to reviewers or have a high number that you can do stats. I think this is just better qualitative research, right? So the idea is, how do you collect data so that you have a large number of cases to compare, okay? And how when you can't do that when collecting data, how do you do that when you analyze data, okay? So for that, we're going to use the two papers, or two of the three papers that we've been discussing so far in the videos. These are my two AMI's quarterly papers, which both come from my dissertation research. One of those papers has 150, an n=150. The other one has an n/1000, okay? And so, what is the secret? What is the key here? The key is that anything that happens in an organization or in a group or in a social setting, whatever, that is of relevance happens frequently in that social setting, right? So when you're sitting down for, like I was for 15 months, observing a group of people, there are things that are going to happen a lot. And things that people do a lot, things that people experience a lot, are obviously going to be a key part of the challenge that they face in their everyday life, and therefore a key part of the story that you want to tell with your data, okay? So let me show you an example. So this is the summary table for my for the data collection procedures for my 2013 MIS quarterly paper on the dramaturgical model of the production of performance data, okay? And so what I, you know, and if you look at the top part, okay, you say, okay, daily observation of people, you know, this is like a vanilla ethnography, right? You know, I was there every day from 8 a.m. till 7 p.m. and so on and so forth. I interviewed everybody and so on. And you see, you know, like this line, oh, sorry. So this line here of the 307 days of observation, 104 interviews, and 3,500 pages of documents, this is what you see as, in ethnographic papers claiming to be a high end, right? I mean, I have like this much documents. I, interviewed hours and, 104 hours of interviews, and I was there for so many, that is fine, but that's not a high end. Why is it not a high end? Because N is an instance of a phenomenon. 307 days of observation are not an instance of 307 instances of a phenomenon unless you are studying your own ethnographic fieldwork. Okay, so I spent 307 days on the field, so I have 307 points of data about doing ethnography on the field, but normally that's not what you're doing, right? Unless you're in social studies of science, that's fine, but that's not what you're doing. Okay, so where's my big N here? So what I did is in this paper I studied the reporting process in this sales unit, how people reported their sales numbers and how managers had people report their sales numbers. Okay, so what I have here, what I used as my unit of observation, my unit of analysis, is each monthly report. Okay, so we have I think it was 8 teams. Let me just quickly check, but I think that was it. 8 teams. Yeah. So I had eight teams of people. I was there for 15 months, so that's 120 monthly team reports. And so I used each report as an instance of an observation, right? So I looked at the process. I'll, just pick up the figure here. So I looked at this process, right? So manager, employee, and leader. So manager having employees prepare the report. I looked at this process 120 times. Okay, I have 120 documented variations, instances of this process. Okay, good. Now, I also have 15 instances of this process, but between middle managers, supervisors, and their leaders. Okay, so the next level up. Okay, so 135. So I have 120. An N of 120, so 120 different report production processes for the salesperson to manager, and then I have 15 more from the manager to the leader. Okay, so that means that the first figure in the results section is summarizing, integrating analysis, individual analysis of 120 monthly team reports, and the second figure 15, right? And so the figure in this discussion has 135 variations. Okay, so that's very different from I looked at the reporting process in one sales unit. Okay, no, I look at 120 instances of the employee to manager reporting process in this unit, and I looked at 15 instances of the manager to leader reporting process. Now, obviously, these are not the 50,000 N's that you get, in economics research or so on and so forth, but I'm doing a qualitative analysis of each of these monthly reports, right? I'm not counting things. I could count things, everything is quantifiable, but I'm doing an in-depth qualitative analysis of 120 reporting cycles, okay? Now, my second MS quarterly piece is based on, my ethnography, but on different data, okay? But again, you have the 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 days of observation, 3,000 pages of documents, and so on and so forth. But again, this is not a big N. But here, okay, here in the data collection, I did not really I was not able, I when I was doing my field work, I still didn't have the idea for this paper. This is a paper that finds a phenomenon in the data, which is this phenomenon of transfiguration work. Okay, so here what I did is, instead of finding a high N in observation, because I just wasn't looking for it, I guess, what I did is I found a high N in data analysis. Okay, and so basically what I did is I came up with an analytical concept called a practice artifact chain. Okay, so basically these are sequences of practices that use a specific artifact. So I do something on an artifact, and I then use that artifact to do something else, which is another artifact, right? So imagine I have an Excel spreadsheet. I transform those data into a presentation, and I use that presentation to write a book report. So that's a practice artifact chain. Okay, so basically what I did is I built a matrix that had practices on the line and artifacts on the column, and I came up with almost 2,000 practice artifact chains. So sequences, practice artifact, practice artifact, with 873 related to work tasks and 1,039 for electronic records. Okay, and then basically what I did is I grouped this into 81 sets of practice artifact checks, just to reduce the data, to aggregate the data at a higher level that was, sort of like basically easier to interpret, because it's very difficult to interpret 1,000 things. It is doable, but it is a little bit more difficult than interpreting 81. So I ended up with, let's say a high order N of 81 from a low order N of almost 2,000. Okay, so basically this is how you do it, right? If you are in the field, make sure that, because our time in the field is limited, right? Make sure that you collect data about recurring occurrences, recurring practices, recurring procedures in the field. Okay, things that happen over and over and over. The idea is not that you're doing this to say, well, I have 1,912 practice artifact chains. It's not to, it's not for that. It is actually good ethnographic practice that you look at recurring events, because it is in these events that social structure is produced and reproduced, norms and meanings are produced and reproduced. It is these events that are the key of people's experiences, where people's identity is produced and reproduced. And pardon my Gideon's language, okay? So this like for real, this is like what you should pay attention to. And obviously there are the extraordinary events, and I have notes of those, and never written a paper of those, but there's, for example, there's this beautiful research on parties. Michael Rosen has this two beautiful papers on corporate parties: Christmas at the boss's expense, and the breakfast at Tiffany's. And I do want to tell you where I got this idea from. It's actually from a paper by Steve Barley, where, it's a very famous paper. It's a CT scanner paper, 1986. There's one thing I don't like about that paper, which is that Steve Barley then counts things and makes arguments based on quantitative analysis. It's a great paper. To me, it's just Steve Barley is brilliant. I love his work, but in that paper, it just reads to me as a little bit of a sellout. Okay, but anyway. But he does this, right? So he has, in that paper, he has 90, he's in 2 hospitals, but he doesn't say he has an N of 2, he has an N of, if I recall correctly, 96 observations of CT scans. And that's where I got the idea that, I need to do this, when I'm in the field, I need to identify these regular behaviors. Notice that if you look at classical anthropology, this is what they do, because they focus on rituals, and rituals are by definition repeating events. Anyway, if you don't do this on the data, like you did your field work, right? You did your field work. You have your data. You can go back. Obviously, you don't want to go back. So just look at this table. This is my paper with Andrea Carugati in 2018, and just take a look at what we did with the data. Again, here I did not have these practice artifact chains. I did not collect them, but this was just in my notes of what people were doing. I was just watching people doing their job and making notes of that. So you may have data there. Definitely have data there in online forums. This is really important because sometimes we were like online research, we say I have 10,000 matches. I don't care if you have 10,000 messages, because it's like observing for 10,000 days, or having, like, I have 3,500 pages of documents. That's fine, but what was routinely happening through those 10,000 messages, right? That's the key. Okay, so I hope you like this. I hope this was helpful. It was good for me because I felt much more energized today than last week. Okay, so we're going to have some videos coming up. Next video is on Thursday. If that sounds good. Okay. On weekends, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go through NVivo and do a really step-by-step course on NVivo on weekends. But before we do that, next weekend, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through comparing NVivo with RQDA and TAMS. TMS is not available on Windows, by the way, only available on Mac. But RQDA and TMS are free qualitative data analysis packages. I actually think RQDA is the best qualitative analysis package. I'll explain why. But we'll just go and compare them, and I'll show you how TMS and RQDA work. So that if you I use TMS because I worked for 5 years at a place that didn't have research money, so I basically had to and I was not making a lot of money, so I basically had to use free software and TMS. That's what I use TMS for, qualitative analysis. So we'll take a look at those. Even if you have lots of money from your university, you may want to take a look at RQDA, because I do think that RQDA is superior to NVivo, even for the type of qualitative analysis that I do that doesn't require computing and cross-tabulation and so on. Okay, so we're 20 minutes in. This is a long one. I really appreciate everybody for stopping by. I'm just going to check if there are any questions in chat. If not, no. Good. So if not, I'll just say, chat viewers, thanks so much for watching the stream. It touches my heart that you're watching. Thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed it, and have a great time. Thanks so much.